We're a pre-council meeting for September 3rd. This meeting will come to order. Please stand for a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bronner.
Here.
Mr. Camello. Mrs. Coder.
Here.
Ms. Heffley.
Here.
Mr. Helbling did call and say he was with the absent. Mr. Siziani. Here. Mrs. Viscusi.
Here.
Mr. Viscusi. Here. Mrs. Washner.
Here.
Mayor Gotcher also reported he would not be here. And solicitor, last name please? Mack. You may say here. We have a quorum.
Thank you. We would like to thank Chris for substituting for Matt and Pat because of the holiday. All the Monday meetings were changed to Tuesday meetings. So, and Chris was kind enough to fill in. Thank you. Are there any visitors who wish to speak? This is that time of the meeting that if a visitor has something to bring to the attention of council, if you would step up to the podium, state your name and address, and write it on the register. You will have 5 minutes now and 2 minutes at the end of the meeting. Any visitors who wish to speak? No visitors? Thank you for coming this evening. Meeting minutes. Any questions about the meeting minutes for June 11th? Is that correct?
That is correct. Those were not complete before I got here, so I had to complete those.
Do we have the committee meetings?
They will be ready for the review.
Oh,
The committee meetings have been complete with the exception of the finance for
do we have them?
I have.
Okay, if you could get them to us. Okay, I appreciate that. Any questions concerning these meeting minutes? Any questions concerning the payment of the September bill list? And of course, we have it in front of us to look over. No questions? Reports. Administration.
Mr. President, I have a request to have just a very brief executive session moving what was scheduled for towards the end of the meeting so that I can discuss the first motion that I make a request to the council.
Okay.
It is a personnel issue.
Okay, it's a personnel issue concerning a letter of intent for the Governor's Center to request technical assistance. Okay? We are going to step out just for a few minutes. This should not take long, hopefully only about 5 minutes. So we will step out and then we will be right back. And we appreciate your patience. Jane. Okay, thank you. Our meeting will continue. DAS, Ron?
Thank you. I would ask council to entertain a motion to approve the letter of intent submitted to the Governor's Center for Local Government Services to request technical assistance.
Second.
That's not a motion.
No,
Request.
Okay, you have to make the motion, so could you make it, just read it off? Yeah, motion to approve.
Yeah, motion to approve letter of intent submitted to the Governor's Center for Local Government Services to request technical assistance.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded to approve the letter of intent is submitted to the Governor's Center for Local Government Services to request technical assistance. Discussion on the motion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Nays? Roll call, please. Do we need that? No money?
There is no
Okay,
motion.
were there any nays? No nays.
Thank you. Actually, that concludes anything that I need from an action standpoint. A lot of my input will be summarized by the engineer and the remaining of his report. So that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments for our engineer? Thank you, Ron. Our engineer, John Rusnak.
Good evening. A couple of things. We've had a busy summer, and there's a couple issues that we need to do. We need to clean up with respect to changes and payments. One of the things first, though, on the agenda is the awarding of the CD39 housing demolition project. The bids came in at, I believe, $24,000. To Continental demolition of Bethel Park, we made the recommendation to the COG, and I guess the borough has to ratify that decision in order for that award to be made. So we would request that the motion be made and action be taken either tonight or.
Can we do it at council? I prefer.
Yes, that can be
Okay.
done, council. The second item will require some action tonight. This is an item that was left off of last month's agenda. The first payment application for the sewer project in the amount of $64,441.84 was requested, reviewed, and recommended by us. It just did not get on last month's agenda, and we'd like to cut that check or have the borough cut that check as quickly as possible rather than wait until the next meeting. That way the contractor can pick that check up. And then we will be receiving probably the final payment application for September's committee meeting, and then make the final payments in October. So I request that motion be
For sewer repair.
for sewer repair, that's correct.
And you think we're going to be under budget?
I do think we are going to be in the budget. Right now, we're trying to do the budget.
Any questions or comments for our engineer? Okay, and I know we need the motion.
Yeah, that's, I have a couple other items.
Oh, okay. So you want us, okay.
That's for consideration after.
Okay, once you complete your report, then we'll, okay.
A couple other things. I know back when the skate plaza was awarded, I had been asked whether or not there would be any more changes to the contract, whether that would be the final contract value, and I said yes, that it should be. Well, I was mistaken. There are two change orders that I would wish that Borough Council would consider. Change order number one was for work that Borough forces didn't complete, and that the contract didn't complete. That is in the amount of $2,592.10. This item was discussed under the interim DAS's tenure, although I don't think that made it to pre-council for action. This had to do with the grading of the pad prior to the construction of the foundations. It's not that Borough Forces didn't do it. I checked the work. I thought they were done. When they came in to set the pad, they were done. They had to have some extra excavation completed by the contractor. So this is a legitimate expense. And I would ask that Borough consider reimbursing the contractor for that amount. The second change order is for remobilization of mechanical equipment to bring in 2 cranes to set the precast concrete structures. If you recall, the request of the borough was to expedite the manufacture of the precast concrete structures so we could beat the weather and get everything done. Well, we didn't beat the weather. Those things were delivered on time, and borough was unable to coordinate the cranes to come in. So we waited until the weather was better, told the contractor to go ahead and mobilize to bring the cranes in because the borough could not do it. And so this amount is for change order number 2 is for the amount just for the crane and the support services for the crane, plus the reasonable overhead and profit that they're required to be paid underneath the contract for such work. Their initial request was for $11,000, $7,500 plus of that was just for the crane. I would recommend that we don't pay the labor for that because they had to set this stuff anyway. So I would just recommend that the crane remobilization be paid for. So change order number 2, the DAS has my hard copy of the explanation, and I would like the borough to consider payment of that change order as well. Also,
Okay, how much was that?
that was for $7,475.88. $7,475.88. Both change orders take the contract, will take the contract value from $100,724 to $110,791.98. So in effect, there's 2 change orders totaling about $10,000.
107 to 110?
Excuse me, $100,724
Okay.
to $110,791.98.
And we can vote on that next week.
That's correct, yes. Okay. I guess I hope that's all the bad news I have. We do have some good news. Like we said, we're trending under budget on the sanitary sewer project. We're trending under budget on the paving project, although we don't have the final pay applications in. Paving project started this week. Those handicap ramps were put in by the Public Works Department. They've done a very good job matching all the grades, and really they do a good job putting in those handicap ramps. The Gay Lane sanitary storm sewer inlets and pipe have been installed. So all that stuff to do with is the paving on the inlet. So hopefully there'll be 3 or 4 days next week that will be done. And we should probably see a final pay request from the paving contractor for September's committee meetings for action in October. No comments yet back from the Allegheny County Health Department or DPP on the feasibility study. Of course, nobody else has got any comments back either. I do not know how many municipalities missed the deadline. That's a question that I have asked, but I have not received an answer to yet. But I understand that there are a large handful of communities that have made submitted their feasibility study. There, the Alcosan 3 River wet weather feasibility study work meetings are starting up again in September. They're going to be discussing great infrastructure for the county sanitary authority wet weather program. You'll be hearing more about that. You'll be seeing more of that in the paper. The MS4 permit renewal, additional information that the DPP requested was submitted to the DPP this past week. The DAS has a copy of that. They requested additional information of your storm sewer outfalls along the Ohio River, along the river. And we are going to request additional time from FEMA to provide them, through Mr. Schmidt, more information on floodplain designation and that area where he was property. So that matter will go on again tomorrow. We're going to ask for additional 30 days. We requested additional information from Alcosan and Pittsburgh Water and Sewer Authority for that area. We have not received it, so we're going to wait until that information comes in and then give all that to Mr. Schmidt, and then he's going to make a decision as to how he wants to pursue it. But as far as the borough is concerned, since they are responsible for the FEMA announcement on the ordinances that go on, the request for additional time to come through them, and I'll write the same letter that I did before asking for additional time. And that would be additional time. That being said, I have no more items.
Okay, any questions or comments for our engineer, John? Okay. Can we have, thank you, John. Can we have a motion to approve the payment of $64,441.84 for sewer repair project?
Make a
second on that? Did everybody hear it? Motion has been made and seconded to approve the payment of $64,441.84 for sewer repair, for the sewer repair project. Discussion on the motion? No discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Nays? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bromley.
Aye.
Mrs. Coder.
Aye.
Ms. Heffley. Mr. Sizian. Mrs. Viscusi.
Aye.
Mr. Viscusi.
Aye.
Mrs. Washburn.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And our librarian is not here. We have a resolution, okay. This is under the library for the streetscape.
My apologies, that's a misprint.
Okay. And we'll be voting on that at the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions or comments concerning the streetscape design for the $8,790 for CPC? Jane?
Yeah, I was looking at the change order or the new amounts, and I don't know if everybody read about your bump box. Okay, are you comfortable with bump box on Union Avenue? Everybody comfortable with Union Avenue? All right, I'm not comfortable with Union Avenue, seeing that Union Avenue is not even Bellevue. So this is one of the big problems that we have with this company. We agreed at the very first meeting to accept the design with no bump outs, period. Then a month later, people got compromised and people got contacted. So we went with 4 bump outs. Now there's going to be one on Union Avenue. If you're going to go for this, to have this company continue doing this project, you better watch your bump outs.
Any other questions or comments?
We're supposed to go on again, I thought that's what we discussed.
That's what we discussed. We discussed that there were the 4 worst star, I think it was, and I don't have.
Two in front of Pizza Monte and 2 in front of Saturday. Well, actually, it'd be like 1 set and 1 set.
So who changed it? The company, the engineering company?
That's what they have on the invoice.
Yeah, read it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, the engineering company's additional authorization to request additional services to include design of requested bump outs located on the west side of the Lincoln Avenue / Jackson Avenue intersection and northern side of Lincoln Avenue at the intersection of Union Avenue. This design will be incorporated into the full project documentation and includes site layout and construction details.
So you have,
Where did that come from? I mean, I don't even remember, we never talked about anything near Union Avenue.
If I may, I believe they were referring to North Star, because that actually turns into Union. I believe there might just be some miscommunication on the street name there.
but we didn't approve North Star, and North Star, isn't that a county road? Or
So
state road?
I think they're speaking of the corner of North Star at Lincoln. That would be catty corner from where Coombs grocery store is.
Well, whether it's Union or North Star, we can agree to.
We didn't agree with.
Is that something that could be clarified?
Well, that's, may I suggest that whenever the correct sections are goes to me, so I can pass them on if indeed council has by strong vote agreed to have CPC. I will get the correct information if someone can get that to me accurately. Wasn't here when it was approved, so I apologize.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
I can add in about North Star intersection. Any change in that intersection, we depend on approval. It's, like I said, it's a state highway, actually. So any change to that intersection, I know definitely need more.
Well, we didn't approve that anyway, so that is something that needs to be corrected. I will mention that we are paying on that invoice almost $2,000, $1,990, because of the change order for these bump outs. On March 5th, we voted on streetscape and agreed to eliminate the bump outs, okay? Somehow, a month later, it comes up again, and so then there is a change order. $1,990, it's costing the taxpayer because of a change vote. Now, maybe if we would have done it because on March 5th, that was a pre-council meeting, we did it because it was time was of the essence. We had to get this done. And then on March 12th, nobody mentioned anything about the bump outs. And the only person absent was the mayor that day. All the rest of council was here. There was nothing, no discussion about it. Maybe had we have done it closer to that time, it wouldn't cost the taxpayers $1,990. Pre-council, still not mentioned at pre-council, and the only two who were absent was the mayor and Ms. Coker. Okay? Nothing was mentioned then. April 9th, that's when it was amended. It took one whole month, and because of this delay, it's costing the taxpayer almost $2,000. I have a problem with this. All you know what broke loose whenever we were providing a buffer up at the cinder lot, something that we require of any other person constructing a parking lot. In fact, because of the compromise, we didn't have enough trees to do it, and we had someone donate the extra tree. And that was $1,800. And I see no one griping about almost $2,000 for something that was due to council. I mean, we had how many opportunities, and here it is, a month later, and now it's costing us more money. I have a problem with this money. And I believe you want that change order. Council should be paying that money. I have no problem with it. Okay, and quite frankly, how many of the people on council have ever seen a bump out? That's right, you did.
I have several on my phone, as a matter of fact.
Okay. I mean, I have talked to a number of communities. I have looked at bump outs, and the feedback that I have gotten is not a 100% satisfaction. But that's my thought. I have a problem with the almost $2,000, and I think it could have been taken care of. I also have a problem that we didn't find out about this extra money until July. We approved it in April. I still don't have the final design, and the specs were given the end of May to the COG, and then in July, we get this particular invoice. So that's my thought on the bump out situation and this additional cost, and then why did it take from April to July for us to find out about this extra money? Jane?
Yeah, with all that said, we gotta make it clear that this extra bump out's not in there.
That's
Is
another
everybody
thing.
in agreement with that, until this gets started on next week, or we're gonna have a whole discussion on it next week?
What? No, we vote on it next week.
I know, but we're gonna make it clear that that was never.
Ron said that he was going to. Ron said he was going to talk to
The bump out
CDC.
will be now.
I know, well, that, I don't know who put that together. Okay. Kathy?
I just have to clarify something. You went on your tangent there, and I agree with you, but where I have a problem is, and Connie can back me up on this, we had several meetings of people in the community who spent relentless hours going through this, and you sat there, and Connie said, when this comes to council, everybody's clear on it. You never said you were going to vote against the bump outs. Connie, am I correct? You came to us and you said, I need everybody, we need to get this going. And you never said that, you said, I don't like bump outs. But I didn't know that then we didn't take the citizens' input, which that's what I thought the streetscape committee was for. And then we come to council and you make a motion to do away with all the bump So if we want to keep traditional and not have bump outs, I think it's worth the change order that we have. But it really started because we didn't listen to the streetscape committee, and we spent all that time, and thus why Connie resigned, because we're wasting time if the council isn't going to take the recommendation of the people on the committee. So that's my take on it.
First, from all these conversations, Ms. Washington never went on us, ever. She never went on us.
It's not about.
No, but I mean, you made it sound like she had negotiated. And we're supposed to listen to all sides. And when we get here, we have to decide. It's nice to have a group of people that don't have to answer to the public about what they're doing with the public money. That's really nice. They can sit back and say, look, we're just signing as the advisory board. And nobody in the borough will know that it was us that recommended the borough to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in bump outs. They're going to look at the people that were sitting here. And after thinking about it and walking through, I don't know how many walkthroughs I went through, and looking at the other communities, I can't wait for those 4 bump outs to show up. I really cannot wait when the citizens of this borough actually see what that's going to entail, and then they find out we're going to have these all the way down the avenue. That's when the citizens will get involved. But right now, as I see it, as a taxpayer, as somebody who lives here, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's going to look ugly. We need new sidewalks.
Does this look ugly?
We need new sidewalks. It's not going to work here, though. It's not going to work here.
Why can't we?
We need
do
new
something?
sidewalks. Getting new sidewalks would be, getting some trees up there would be nice, and some lighting. That's what this borough needs right now. Bump outs, concrete bump outs, no. And so that's where my change at. After thinking about it, after looking at it, yeah, I had little negotiations, but no. When it comes down to push the shove, I can't wait for this to show up. And we're going to spend all of them on bump outs. And it was decided a month before, so we want to take the design of that, so.
I would want to go else. I have my concerns, and I've already explained all that numerous times. I've also been to the walkthroughs on this. I think being progressive is a wonderful thing. I think, we have to look at Bellevue and see what we need to do here. Other communities, I've seen bump outs in Lemon, and there's some in Napa. It depends on the community and what specifically the community needs. And I don't think we need bump outs. I don't think we need, especially now, as paying extra money now to have to put these bump outs in, and now there's just cropping up in places that we never agreed to. I don't think they're going to be, I love the word progressive, but I don't think in Bellevue it's going to be a progressive thing. This is very community oriented. This is something that's, you have to look at the community and the whole issues with the community, not just other people and other pictures of other places.
And I will say, anyone who ever thought that I would vote for bump outs, they weren't listening to me through all the walkthroughs that I went through and every meeting, okay? And having bump outs doesn't make you progressive. I was also, what it is, this is what I was told by another community in Ohio. My sister-in-law said, they were real nice the first couple of years, then after that, they're just not nice anymore. And some of the communities that have them wish they didn't have them. I would like to see our money put into sidewalks and lighting, and I think that would help the community better. But when it gets all down to it, you can't blame it on me, because I have always said that I don't want bump outs. We take a vote for no for bump outs, and then a month later we do a change order. How can that be my fault? Because I voted no for bump outs. I can't believe I'm getting the blame for.
No, I wasn't blaming you. Here's what I was saying, that we spent how many hours that night, and Connie can tell you were there. We came to a compromise. You were the only one saying, no. We came to a compromise. We took a bunch of them out. And Connie said, is everybody okay with this? You were not.
Why wasn't it brought up at the next pre-council meeting? Why did it have to wait till a month after? And so now it's costing us money. That's my biggest complaint here. Almost $2,000 it's costing. And so people change their mind. An advisory committee is advisory. And we agreed to everything else at the advisory committee for BDAC. We agreed to everything else on March 5th. Evidently, some people changed their minds and said, wait a minute here, and they voted differently. The problem is, you waited a goddamn month, and now it's costing the taxpayer. And I was taken through the polls for $1,800 on a buffer that we require every other, any other person that has a parking lot. And now, $1,990, and nobody has a problem with that except for me. I don't know. Okay, that's my thought on that. Jim?
Yeah, I had some questions about the bump outs. They were answered on drainage, clean snow, so forth. But my thoughts on the bump outs right now, since this discussion especially, you're adding something new to the borough. We're not just going straight to same old, same old. If we're going to advance into the future, this is one good way to start, to show people on the outside, yeah, we can take a chance on something. I see no reason not to pass this. $2,000 isn't much for this. There's a lot of projects being done where they find out eventually it's going to cost them a lot more money, so they have to pay for it. And we've wasted money like this on frivolous things. I think this is really a worthwhile cause.
Sue?
How long are we going to take to go outside? So 20 years ago?
I think in the 80s.
So this isn't a new and upcoming thing, this is a new trend.
Oh, no, it's been around for a while.
It's been around for a while, it's not anything new.
This doesn't make him not progressive. People want, to believe that, but, I would like to put money where it would make the most bang for the buck, and I think the sidewalks and the lighting are needed more than that. Not all communities who do streetscape go for bump outs. So, Lynn.
Aren't you rehashing what we already decided? We already voted and passed, for whatever reason, the bill wasn't paid. And now we're bringing, that's why we owe $2,000, correct? Because whatever, the plan was not given to the engineer in a timely fashion, where that wall got dropped there. And now we're rehashing bump out history. The deal's done, we already voted for this, it was approved, whether anyone likes it or not. Now we're arguing over $2,000. Let's just get on with it. We rehash things over and over and over. We voted for the bump outs. If you don't like it, too bad. Let's move on with things here.
Yeah, but you didn't say that whenever we voted to take out the bump outs. You didn't say, well, you voted for it and it's too bad.
What I thought has already been repeated.
But you know what my complaint is, it took 3 meetings, and this is costing the taxpayer. It's not done with because we're going to pay $2,000. And meanwhile, it went on, discussion went on forever, and I was accused of all kinds of terrible things for $1,800. And so now it's okay for the taxpayer for $2,000.
Kathy said, I did originally vote for it. I don't know, I wasn't involved in streetscape. I didn't go to the meetings, I was counting on what I heard. Then when Connie and the rest of the people in that committee came up and said, wait, we did do all this research, you're counting on us, and they said, this is what we approved, this is what we think should happen, that changed my mind. Then that night when we talked for 6 or 7 hours, we came to a compromise of 8 or 12 bump outs, we went to 4. Now 6 months later, we're back talking about the same thing. I'm just saying, if the bill had been paid in prompt fashion, we wouldn't be rehashing this. It's done.
Wait a minute, no, it has nothing to do with the bill being paid. Had we have, on March 5th, then on the 12th, it would have come back again, it may not have cost us $2,000.
But if a big lightning bolt would have come and blown up the building that night, it might not happen either. We're getting tied up on all this.
I see.
Just a point, we're not just talking about these 4 bump outs, because when there's other bump outs that will end up coming in the future, that's
all we're doing is okaying $2,000 so we can move forward. You just heard my complaint. I mean, we are talking about $2,000 here, but it's okay. That's fine with me.
I just want to make sure that extra fund money, that's all I'm saying.
Well, that needs to be clarified.
To go in the right place. Okay, I can, yeah, that needs to go.
No, but it's okay also, not wait till July and tell us about all this when, in fact, has anybody received the final design on streetscape? I haven't, but that's okay too. Okay.
We have a vote.
No, this is for council.
Send it next week.
Yeah, this goes, this is next week. Okay, any council reports? Okay, code enforcement. Any reports?
Nothing for me.
Okay, thank you. Committee chair reports, finance, our chair of finance, U.S. Casey.
I have the resolutions and FYI, any questions before.
Any questions for our chair of finance?
I just have a comment, Jim may bring this up, but I think it would behoove each of the committees to get with the borough employees and do some type of planning before we do our budgets and be proactive this year versus just reactionary. So it would be a good thing, I think, for every committee to do that, because we need to plan ahead for capital budgeting, and we don't seem to do a good job of that.
That's all I've been discussed.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for our chair of finance? No other questions? Thank you, Sue. Parks and Recreation, Jim Siciliani, chair.
We had talked on the committee about planning for the future before the budget. I think we should put together one and do a plan. Also, the biking hike trail dedication, is that the 6th, Kathy?
It's the
Yeah. Okay. I'm also showing safety day for the.
No, that was an error. Safety day is the 6th on Sunday. That was an error. It is the 6th.
But there'll be more information coming out on both of these. I think at our regular council meeting, Kathy, can you give a further report on it there? I think you'd be pleasantly surprised to hear some things that are done. But that's all I have.
Any other questions for our chair of Parks and Recreation? Okay, thank you, Jim. Public Works Chair, Jim Viscusi.
Okay, Ms. Public Works, looking for a motion to make a resolution to extend the 3 summer helps this year. And then I think Mr. Paytack can explain about how he wants to work with 3 summer helps.
We would like to keep 3 extra summer help for leaf season. We did not have, we had quite a few kids quit this year, and money's in the budget. We like to keep them there for leaf season instead of laying them off. We could use them, and we have brick jobs and stuff like that coming up.
Well, 3 can stay to the end of the year, or just?
Yes, 3 to the end of the year.
All 3 to the end of the year.
Okay, is that something that can be put on the agenda for okay, thank you.
To clarify that, Mr. President, we also have a situation where our cleaning employee would be without his services for a period of time, and part of the tasks of the summer help will be to cover for him in his absence.
Any other questions or comments for our Public Works? Okay, no questions or comments. Thank you, Jim. Public Safety Chair, Jane Brown.
Just one thing, safety day is October 6th, between moving forward. Hopefully some council people will be up there open. Right now?
It's actually noon to 3.
Okay.
Say what?
Noon to 3. We cut it back an hour last year.
Noon to 3? have any flyers that we need for on?
Nothing. We haven't made it.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay, any other questions or comments for our Chair of Public Safety? None? Thank you, Jane. Resolutions, we will have one resolution for next week, and that would be the hiring of a library page. Any questions or comments on that? We have one leaving, and then we're just replacing it. Did you have a question?
You'll have two resolutions, so it's a continuation of something else.
Oh, okay, that would be a resolution. Okay, thank you. Since we will have a resolution, any questions or comments concerning the summer help? Extending the time. Ordinances, we have 3 ordinances. The first one is the restriction and regulations of the off-leash dog park. Any questions or comments concerning that?
If I may, Mr. President, I have an email from the mayor. He asked me to read it concerning the dog ordinance. Perhaps the chief would have a comment. It's an email that says, after reading over the latest version of the dog park ordinance, I believe that the items spelled out as infractions would be harder to enforce and even harder for any magistrate to follow through on with stated fines. My suggestion is to take the contents, rules included, and make this a resolution, much as council has for rules by resolution at our other facilities. Then, if a police presence is needed, the use of citing people with disorderly conduct or other appropriate offenses would be palatable to local judges. The mayor wishes to questions whether this needs to be an ordinance rather than a resolution.
Chief, do you have any thoughts on that?
When the mayor had asked me about it, I expressed that we would handle an issue with the dog park the same as we would handle a debate or a memorial in general. What we normally do is a vocal infraction will remove the person from the park ban and what have you. You know, if you break the rules, you're out. If they refuse or they come back, then we fall on state law for trespassing at that point, which one has more ammunition than any ordinance, and two, it just gives us a state citation under that law, which in Memorial Park we have to file at OPL's office, but we've done that before, or Ross Township would take over the prosecution.
Which we couldn't do with the resolution.
Right, but I don't have any input on whether the ordinance or the resolution, but regardless, if they're rules and we can enforce them and tell people you broke the rule, you're out, and then fall back on state law to arrest if we have to. That's how I see that playing out for us.
Okay, any questions or comments concerning the mayor's concern? Okay. The second ordinance would be for regulations on the vacant industrial and commercial structures. Kathy?
I thought this was, remember, it was repealed.
Right, it went to committee, and, okay, what happened with this? Okay, I don't know what you were told, but in June, they repealed it because of a particular phrase that encompassed people making improvements or something. Okay, so then they repassed it. They passed it again with just a small phrase taken out of it. We never received, from what we can see, the repealed version. So we only received the new ordinance that they have. So it was tabled and then went through committee and came out of committee again. Okay,
Well, I don't know, because when I saw her that day, they had just passed the new ordinance. So, I'm not sure we have the new one that has that statement in it, do we?
we never got, I mean, her email to me is that, I mean, this happened months ago. That's what was in the email. Because in the email she had a note to you, I should have gotten this to you months ago. It was at the bottom of the email. Okay, but that particular phrase, we couldn't find that phrase. all parts thereof, I think it was. So we couldn't find that in there. So we believe, and in fact, we have the new version. She emailed me the new version of that particular ordinance. So that's what it's out of.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments concerning that?
I just have another comment on that. The problem I have with this, I think that in theory, it's good. I think what you're trying to do is say if someone's in a vacant building, they should put something up on it and they should be active. But it also is stifling people. It's gonna, the first person that comes there, they're gonna hurry up and rent it to them, and it may not be the best tenant. So are we going to be punishing people, and that it's gonna actually backfire? And who's gonna enforce all of this?
I believe the ordinance, as it is written, it doesn't say that you have to accept anybody. You just have to be in the process of attempting to rent. So if you reject somebody, that doesn't mean that now that it doesn't apply. I mean,
So who's going to enforce it? Is Jim going to walk around to every vacant and call the property owners, or how's it going to be enforced?
I'm not part of enforcement, so.
But I just got more laws on what we're not going to enforce, more laws. And if it's to stimulate economic development, I don't think you can legislate economic development. So I feel like instead of, we should be incentivizing people to do it versus punishing people. And I don't know, that's, I guess, the problem I have.
How do you get newspapers and plastic bags and brown paper off of windows? I mean,
Well,
if you give them an
part.
incentive to say, okay, we will pay you to take these off of the windows. And then please don't take it the wrong way. I mean, that's not meant to be sarcastic. It's just that we shouldn't have to do this. People on their own would want their fronts to be attractive. Okay? I mean, if you think about it, the facade grant, I mean, how many people took part in that? I mean, so unfortunately, we have to say, hey, you have to try to rent your building. Let's make the windows look nice. We wouldn't need this law if people would take it on their own to make their building look nice. We wouldn't need those kind of laws. Just my thought. Jane, you have a comment?
No, it just said the same thing, the email from the woman who had it met, and it was just the one phrase or portion thereof.
Okay.
That's taken back. Like Linda said, how we can be able to make the property, the person keep it up anyhow.
We just have to make it clear that they don't have to rent to anyone. We don't want them to do that. But they really need to try to make an attempt to rent or sell instead of just let it sit there and make our business district look horrible.
So I guess, to me, it's very subjective. So who's going to say, I showed my building once in the last 60 days, and I guess Jim, this is part of your job now, he's going to call up everybody, and then the next person did it 5 times in the last 60 days, and someone did 10 times. Like, who's attempting there? Like, there's no, do you see what I'm saying? It's very subjective. Would you agree, Attorney?
Well, I have in front of me what I believe is your final version, and I guess what they're saying is that you just don't want someplace sitting more than 60 days. And within that 60 days, there could be a mortgage foreclosure going on there. There would be obviously, you would be receiving notice of that anyways through the court process.
So does that mean every building on Lincoln Avenue is going to get cited?
Well, that would be up to you guys if you want to cite it, but if it's sitting there and it's unsecured for more than 60 days, and nobody's coming in to purchase it or even remotely interested in it.
In there it states if they are trying to rent, that there are no penalties if they're making an attempt. If they have a professional sign, if they have it on Craigslist.
It states in here that it isn't declared abandoned for 180 days, which is under the definition of that, that's what they're discussing.
And did you comment?
No, I don't think I'll provide questions.
Well, we talked about it today, it's not necessarily that we want them to rent it in 60 days. If it's vacant, we want them to maintain the building. That's more the purpose. So they cut the grass or they maintain the building. Right.
Trash in the front.
It's not to punish them because they can't rent it, it's to make sure that as long as it's vacant, it's maintained.
There are some provisions in there to keep it not very subjective, basically what you're saying. Yeah, there is some regulations as far as the inspections and the anniversary dates to keep things on a regular schedule. See what you're saying, that's putting a lot of strain on your building code inspector, but it's just the same as any other occupancy permits that would come in.
Any other questions or comments concerning that? Okay, our next one will be regulations concerning the screening of dumpsters. Any questions or comments concerning that? Okay.
We advertised that. No, wait, we advertised, we advertised.
Yeah, you're right. No, yeah, we did, because we did.
Should have done so long ago.
Any questions or comments concerning that? Okay. Any old business? Jim?
Yes, Mark? Any update on the evidence?
No, they're just the 6 to 8 weeks as they were going to be. You know, I'm not waiting, getting the name back.
That should be coming up pretty soon now. It's
I
been
would say at least a couple of weeks.
a couple of months.
Okay, any other old business? Any new business? Okay, public contribution. Are there any visitors who wish to speak? Step up to the podium, state your name and address, write it on the register, and give 2 minutes.
I'm Mary Chapman. First of all, concerning the dog park rules, it has been the practice of the borough of Bellevue for decades, generations, to have their rules for behavior in parks done by ordinance. There currently is an ordinance in existence for Memorial Park, and in that ordinance it says, no dogs allowed. That is done by ordinance because, obviously past councils for I don't know so many years have done it that way. And I'm kind of surprised at the mayor because he was involved when we initially developed these rules, and the intent from the very beginning was that they would take the place or be added to the ordinance that already exists for the Memorial Park, and that it will then be adopted by Ross Township so that their police have the authority to enforce our rules. I frankly spent a lot of years in the criminal courts, and I would like to see somebody get arrested for disorderly conduct for having a 12-year-old inside the fence in the park. The factual grounds do not exist. We want something up there, which is already in place. We're just kind of changing what's up there to accommodate the dog park use. We need something to tell people. If you break these rules, there's going to be a penalty. So I think we were all on track to adopt this. It's in line with what the borough has done for decades. Let's just do it and the way we've always done it. Get it onto Ross Township and quit fussing with it. Let's not rehash this. As far as the streetscape goes, you got a change order for $87, almost $9,000. Only $2,000 of that is for the bump outs.
That's all I said, 1,900.
But there's another $7,000 that he's charging us.
This, you,
But
okay. If you're done, I'll
So
explain it all.
what I'm saying is this.
I'll explain it all.
This may be something for your solicitor to handle, because quite frankly, if he had not performed his part of the contract in developing that plan, by the time you guys voted to throw in a couple of bump outs that he had already had in the design to begin with, how is it a change order? He's never developed the final plan. How can we be changing the final plan? I wouldn't pay him a dime. That company was bad news from the beginning of this. I like the bump outs, but the company was bad news. I want to bump out on Union Avenue. Right here it intersects with Lincoln. So I would say basically forget it. And if I was going to pay that money, I'd hire somebody else to do it. I wouldn't give it to that company. Just my opinion from having watched this process over the course of that year.
Okay, let me clarify, because the audience does not have a copy of the invoice in their hands. Okay, $1,990 of it is to add on to the bump outs. But there are two other items on there. One of them, you have to take, their obligation under the contract was to give us a plan for $500,000. Okay, but what they are saying, you can't put that out to bid. It needs to be reduced down to something smaller. So that's what they're doing. They're charging us to put it down to something that'll be close to the $140,000. Okay, then there is a cost to oversee the actual construction of the streetscape. And believe me, I have asked. I have made phone calls, and that was not part of the contract. And that is one of my gripes, that it took till July to tell us about it. But it is not in the contract.
My personal opinion, and this is somewhat educated after having been through it, is that this company is the reason that the borough is in the position that they're in. They did not start the streetscape design for a good 6 or 7 months after they were awarded the contract. They missed every single deadline that they were given, and we still don't have a plan. We still don't have bid specs.
No, we have bid specs. COG received those the end of May.
Oh, nice. But I honestly, I would not hire them to oversee anything. Our work with them is done. This was a nightmare process. It was a horribly bad experience. If any other contractor had come into this borough, missed deadlines, failed to complete work on time, performed at that level, we would be screaming. And this is a whole lot of money. It's not the Bellevue officials who are making Bellevue look bad with the county. It's this company that has missed every single deadline that's been given.
Unfortunately, it looks like it's us. I have called Allegheny County a number of times concerning all the missed deadlines. But unfortunately, economically, because they are the people that put together the plans, that the best price to oversee and reduce the specs down to something that's close to $140,000, they more than likely would be less expensive than bringing in, for example, our own engineer.
They might be less expensive, but that's why they always put in that provision that you accept the lowest responsible bidder.
I don't disagree with you. Jane?
Jim, when this whole process started, they were actually the most expensive.
They were.
When we interviewed the 3 companies, they were the most expensive.
Any other public contribution? If you'd like, no other visitors who wish to speak, thank you for coming tonight. We really appreciate that. And the executive session that's on the agenda, if it, we did that in the very beginning, so we will not have another executive session. And do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion. Second.